Recording in progress.
And timer. Hi folks, thanks for streaming. This episode of Yumio to oha nashi features the author of the Seer of York Series, Thea Lyons from United Kingdom. Thanks for joining here, Thea. So can you briefly introduce yourself?
Hi, so my name's Thea Lyons, but people can call me Thea, and I write dark fantasy and science fantasy mostly.
Dark fantasy and science fantasy. And so let's say first of all, can you share your latest accomplishment or your temporary goal that you would like to reach?
So I've just finished editing a collection of short stories and sent that off to my publisher that relate to the Seer of York series. So I'm really excited about them because it's a different way to explore the characters. And it's helped me kind of get in the mindset now to start writing book 2, which is my next goal.
Oh, I see. So this is going to be your first one.
Yeah, so this, The Hiding is the first book in the series, yeah.
I see. So can you briefly describe this the Seer of York series?
So it is dark fantasy. It's set in an alternate England. I grew up just south of Yorkshire, so I spent a lot of time in York and Yorkshire growing up. So it's very familiar to those who know it, but with a very dark twist to it. Supernatural murders, illegal magic, secret police, lots of creepy things. And basically my main character, Harper, has visions of these ritualistic murders happening in York, and she and her foster sister are trying to solve them.
So your main protagonist is a female?
Yes.
And is she like a police officer or just a regular person?
She is an arcane archivist, but she's had training. Her foster family are demon hunters. So she and her foster sister work together to try and track down supernatural creatures that are harming people and to vanquish them.
Yes, because those England, United Kingdom, had so many supernatural stories from the past, and even Sherlock Holmes dealt with that kind of occult things. So that's why I think you were pretty good at writing those dark fantasies. And yes, and how long did you take to complete this series? As the first one.
So I kind of wrote it in a weird order because I wrote book 2 first. And then I went, oh, this is a book 2. So I went back and wrote book 1. And then I didn't do anything with it for quite a long time because I just wrote it for fun. So once I then started to try and get it published, probably about a year from that point.
8 years. I see, that was a long run. So when did you discover the joy of writing?
Oh, when I was very small. My dad's also a writer.
Oh,
so
I see.
Very normal in my house. And like the first thing I remember writing was when I was about 6.
6 years.
And it's either a story about witches in caves or a sci-fi story about a robot that kept making bubbles that couldn't be popped.
Oh, I see. And what kind of writer was your father?
He also writes things that are kind of not dark fantasy exactly, but dark with that kind of speculative edge of something supernatural happening in the background. And he also writes things for school. He was a teacher, so he used to write fun plays and things for the children to do.
So does your family member believe those kind of supernatural things?
No, not really. But
not really.
My whole family is very into fantasy and sci-fi and mythology.
I see. Sounds great. So how do you brainstorm when composing new scenes, dialogues, characters, and so on?
So it's one of those things that's kind of happening all the time, and my poor husband has to put up with that because we'll be out somewhere and I'll see something and just be like, oh, this could be a story of something, and this could happen, and the characters could do this. And they kind of just talk in the back of my head all the time. So things that I'm watching and I'm reading, they will pop up and say, oh, I have an opinion on this. But when I'm actually writing, it's mostly just then sitting down at my laptop and looking a bit like a crazy person, waving my hands around.
So it's like,
like, this is happening, and then this, and I'm in a cafe and I shouldn't do that.
I see. But maybe other people think that she's writing something. I see.
Yeah, hopefully they think it looks interesting.
And how do you compose your characters and dialogues, especially dialogues?
So my characters, as I said, they're very chatty. they do start to get their own distinct voices in my head. And I also sometimes just let them talk. So I'll just sit at my computer and there's a lot of scenes that don't happen in the hiding, which is basically different combinations of the characters sitting in the kitchen having a cup of tea and talking that I kind of went through just to get an idea of their voice and their opinions. And then obviously cut it all out because it's not stuff you want to read, but it helps me in the background.
I see. I see. So is your novel the characters swear or basically for meant for young adult?
It can be read by young adult. It's aimed at an adult market. The characters are in their mid-20s. So there may be one or two swear words in there, but it's not heavy.
I see. That sounds great. So when composing an action sequence, do you first image it in your brain to visualize or toss words randomly, or do you have your own way?
I'm very visual in how I write, that kind of playing it out as a movie almost in your head. So I will kind of go through kind of step by step in my head, what does this action sequence look like? If I can, I like to actually go and do it. So I'm a fencer. My husband took ninjutsu when he was younger.
Oh, really?
So we will go out into our back garden and have a go at trying something. We used to live in the city centre in Manchester here, and we have lightsabers that you can actually battle with. So we would take those down into the alley outside the house and just like, okay, we've got a sword fight to plan. Let's give it a go.
Do your characters use magics?
For fighting, not so much at this point. The characters in the hiding have more passive magic, but in other stories, yes, there is definitely, and there will be by the time we get to book 2, there's definitely going to be magic in the fighting.
I see. Looking forward to read that. So are you interested in Japanese culture, and which one do you want to deep dive?
So it's again kind of stemming from that love of mythology and folklore, and I've always found that Japan has such different folklore to what we have here.
Yokai, especially.
And like just such a wealth of imagination that goes into it, and from my perspective, some really bizarre things that I love. So I would really love to kind of go into that more. And I mean, you have things like and I'll probably mispronounce this, so please forgive me.
Sure.
Things like Mokumukura and the eyes in the paper walls, and the Ukurakubi with the long necks and the heads that come off. It's just such a rich tapestry of things. I would love to go and learn more about it. And actually, this is you can't see, but it's my kitsune shirt.
Yes, Japan has what we call yokai, those supernatural creatures, and we love that. We love digging that. I see. How about any favorite Japanese anime or manga?
So I think some of my favorites are probably ones that are quite obvious, because that's where I came into it when I was at university, and some of the kind of big ones were things that my friends were watching when I first came there. So things like Full Metal Alchemist, Cowboy Bebop, things again on that kind of side where you have the sci-fi fantasy side. My-HiME was one of the other first ones I saw. Very much like the Magic Girls, but with a bit of tech in there as well. So I really kind of love that side of it. And we've started introducing our toddler to Studio Ghibli.
Ghibli.
So he is a big fan of Kiki and Totoro. And we put it on in Japanese for him. And obviously he can't read the subtitles, but he just sits there and he narrates the whole thing to me. And he gets very excited whenever Gigi's on the screen. I suppose at the moment, the one my husband and I are watching is season 2 of One Punch Man.
One Punch Man. Yes, we call One Punch Man. We kind of omitschi, I see. So you enjoy
that's
it?
what we're watching now. Very funny.
Yes, it is kind of comedy. One Punch Man is kind of comedy, I think. And how about do your husband or you have those Ghibli mascots, like keychains or like a Totoro's keychain or those kind of things?
We got it. It's downstairs, but my husband bought me about yay big, a big Totoro cushion that you can put your hands in to stay warm.
Oh, that's great.
He's always too warm, and I'm always too cold.
That is great. Yes, I want that to see. And so you said you watch One Punch Man right now. So how about any recent anime you watch it?
So, what was I watching before that? I was watching Black Butler before that because I wanted to watch
Black Butler,
the third season for the Dark Carnival because I'm writing a Dark Carnival story, which is actually in Italy. But it's kind of interesting to kind of draw from different cultures because I'm writing an alternate Italy, so it doesn't have to be completely accurate.
Yes, yeah.
I can mix it up.
Often Japanese people write those fantasy Europe or fantasy China, and yes, so sometimes
It gives
they
it
get
a different
controversy.
twist.
Yes, I see. And how about what are your hobbies rather than reading and writing?
So I do a lot of music. My family's also very musical. I play violin and mandolin. And that's also quite influential in my writing. And again, that will kind of come up more going into book 2 and in some of the other stuff that I've written. Before we had a baby, we did quite a lot of gaming as well.
Gaming?
Mostly console gaming, but my husband plays tabletop stuff as well. But
Great.
I have played twice. I have won twice, and I now retire from.
Tabletop
But yeah,
RPG.
when we have time, quite a lot of console gaming as well.
Such as?
So I like big RPGs, unsurprisingly, as a fantasy person. So things like Dragon Age, Final Fantasy. The family favorite is probably Metal Gear Solid, because that's one of the ones my husband and I both like playing.
Metal Gear Solid. It's so unfortunate that Kojima Hideo left Konami because Konami gave the others kind of bad situation to him. But still, Kojima Hideo is making lots of those interesting games still. I see. And let's see how many years have you played your violin and mandarin or musical instrument? Years and years?
Oh yes, it was about 30 years ago I started playing violin at school. And my dad plays basically anything with strings. He can just walk in and play. So at one point we had 6 guitars, 3 violins, 4 mandolins, a dulcimer, a lap harp, banjolas, bazookas, all sorts of stuff. And the mandolin is the same tuning as the violin. So I was like, if I can play that one, I can play that one.
You see, I have my bass guitar on my back, but I rarely play it right now. So okay, so we have less than a minute, so let's wrap up. Any message to those watching this interview?
Just if you are a writer and you've got a story to tell, then tell it. Don't be held back and think, oh, I'm not good enough to tell it, because the only way to get there is to tell it. And I've learned so much about myself through writing that it's worth it even if no one else reads it.
I see. So keep writing is the best way. And finally, what is the most encouraging phrase that you recite when you want to pump up your motivation or crawl out from rock bottom?
I think usually just some kind of variation of get the words on the page and fix everything else later. And kind of apply that to other real life stuff as well. Just do something, because the second time you do it, it'll be easier. So just get up and do it.
Yes. Not trying anything is the worst thing, I think, for anything. At least we have to try and figure it out later. So okay, so thank you very much, Thea. Her work is called the Seer of York Series. So folks, if you're interested in Thea, please pick her work and follow her account at ALETHEARLYONS. Truly appreciate your participation in this segment, Thea. Wish you great success and we'll keep in touch.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank
Arigato.
you. Arigato.